I was asked today to try and highlight to some of you why the AV industry is so significant for Industry 5.0 and what difference we make. I don't think I'm going to be teaching you anything new, but maybe I'm going to make you realize what significance there is and why it's changing for us. A little bit about who we are. Integrated Systems Events, we are the organizer of Integrated Systems Europe, the largest AV exhibition in the world. We focus very much just on developing and creating business-to-business exhibitions for the AV industry. We're owned by two industry associations, AVIXA and CEDIA. AVIXA represents the commercial part of AV, and CEDIA represents the residential part, so where you're working and where you're living. We moved our show, we outgrew our previous home of Amsterdam, and we brought the show to Barcelona, and we had our real inaugural event this year in Barcelona, which was a tremendous success. Talking about Industry 5.0, I thought let's start with what the EU says that their goals here should be on three core points. It should be human-centric, it should be resilient, and it should be sustainable. We need to be leading with digital and green transition. We need to be looking at the well-being of workers. Work-life balance becomes an important factor on this. Human-centric, involving and using AI, using resources which are sustainable and efficient, and upskilling, training, education about digital. That's what the EU says and what we should be focusing on. Part of that is also recognizing the UN 17 sustainable goals and seeing how we can be sustainable and how we can move to the future. So I want to go and actually identify 7 areas in which the AV industry identifies and actually makes a significant impact onto recognizing those goals and actually changing what you do. Those areas I've identified at the moment are unified communications. So 3 years ago, many of you probably never heard or have ever used video conferencing or Teams or Zoom. Now everybody knows what it is. That has changed our lives in the last 2 years. We call it unified communications. Training and education, live events, content creation and distribution. That's all about broadcast. That's all about creating corporate videos, or even people who are just doing YouTube, the social media. Smart buildings, whether it's commercial or residential. Retail and green AV. Let's start with UC. As I mentioned already, 2 years ago, probably most people only used unified communications in their office. They were using video conferences to communicate with each other across the world. The start of the pandemic realized that for many people working from home, they needed such tools. The transition of using audiovisual solutions for your home to communicate and work and continue to work suddenly changed. Many of our companies who are selling AV solutions, their business slowed down except for one part. We all went home, we took our laptops with us, and then everyone said, I can't just work on my laptop, let me buy a screen. And most of those big manufacturers, they sold so many screens in the first part of 2020 from everyone working at home. They sold so many keyboards and chairs and things to make you comfortable, make you work from home. That's how it's impacted everyone there. So hybrid working became significant for all of us. We changed that on how people could actually work from home. Now it's hybrid. Before it was just working from home. Now it's working from the office and home. We take our equipment with us to go to the office, or take it home with us that we can work anywhere we want to. It's increasing team capabilities. the way people are working together. We have more collaboration because it's not just about seeing each other on the screen and talking to each other. It's actually sharing documents and exchanging what you're doing. We're looking at the industrial part of this as well, which is in terms of increasing the productivity. You'll be amazed at how much people are working 24 hours on projects, starting perhaps here in Sabadell, and then continuing a few hours later in New York, and earlier in the day in Asia. And this collaboration of sharing and becoming more efficient and transferring information throughout the day to actually increase the development of the Pfizer, the virus, what am I looking for? For COVID, that was a collaboration of many companies at the end to actually increase the speed in which that was developed to actually bring it to the market. And that meant 24/7 working over different continents. That's what the AV industry enables. We talk about Web 4.0, using bots. Do you realize many times when you react to a question or a question on the internet, and it says to you, "Can I help you? My name's Robert." It's actually a robot, not Robert. And they're actually using AI to actually make things more efficient and help you in what you're doing. Training and education. I don't know how many of you have been studying during the pandemic. I did. Everything went online. Lecturers were working from home, talking to students working from home. My son is studying, and he told me last year that one of his study colleagues had a very expensive apartment in Munich, and when he realized the pandemic was going to be for quite a long time, he suddenly thought, why don't I cancel my rent, take all my computers and my books with me, and go to Mexico? And he moved into one of these student accommodations on the beach in Mexico for about a tenth of what he was paying in Munich, and spent the whole pandemic studying from the beach and enjoying what he was doing there. That's what we enable. We have different ways of learning as well. Some people are better at listening. Some people are better at seeing. Some people are better at touching and how they actually learn things. These collaboration tools and the possibility to learn from different places actually gives the possibility to learn in different ways from the same sources. So again, these are new things we're learning in how people are educating themselves using AV, using the tools that are available through what we create. And we have cost reduction. We talked about just before about mobility and being eco-friendly. You don't have to go into the university every day. You don't have to go to school every day to learn. You can do it remotely. Many classes in this way, our meetings, etc. Live events. When we talk about live events, we're talking about a meeting like this. We're talking about maybe going to the Formula One race or a concert or a company meeting. Can you imagine if you were sitting here? That's the difference. Can you imagine I'm trying to explain things to you and you don't have a screen to see these images? A picture tells 1,000 words. Putting images actually enhance the message. And this is what AV brings to the whole situation. We talk about content creation and distribution. It's funny, when I came first to Barcelona and to Spain, and started talking about what we do, and I said AV, and everyone understood that to be broadcast, TV. We're more than broadcast. Broadcast is part of what we encompass and enhance. And that's an industry that's changing. Before, if you wanted to make a TV show, or actually just a news program, you needed a huge studio with massive cameras and lots of lighting. Nowadays, you can do that in 9 square meters with just a green screen, or even more creative is actually have an LED curved wall that can actually put you in any location you want to be to make that film. It's changing the whole landscape of how people are creating content, not only for broadcast, but enterprise TV. When we talk about now that companies want to communicate with their workers, with their customers, and create their own content. So they're creating mini studios in their offices where they don't need huge lights, they just need a small space and cameras that cost 3,000 euros rather than 300,000 euros. It's changing the whole landscape of how they're creating and what they're doing. This is one of the areas that excites me the most, smart buildings, whether it's a smart home or a smart office. This is a picture here of a place called the I.S.E in Amsterdam. I'd love to show this film, but if I had an hour to talk to you, I could show you so many interesting things. But Google it. Just Google the I.S.E Amsterdam. There's a great Bloomberg video that explains how this smart building works from the moment someone drives into the garage and it reads their number plate and it says, "That's Mike Blackman. His office is on the 4th floor." And when I get out of the car and I get to the elevator, it opens up without me touching it and it takes me to the 4th floor. And when I get to my office, it switches on the lights to the level that I want it. It sets the heating to the comfort zone that I enjoy. And it switches on my computer. It tells everybody else I'm in the office and when I'm available. They have, the other thing about this building is it actually, if I don't have an office, this actually is the headquarters of Deloitte's in Amsterdam. They have 2,500 employees. But in this building, there's only space for 1,200. And it works with space sharing. It lets people work with an app to actually say, today you can come into the building because there is space, and we've allocated this space for you to go and work at. And when you get out of your car, it takes you to that place. There are many other things about this building that make it really incredible, and how it's using audio-visual control, how it's using AI to make it intelligent and work with you. But the most amazing thing about this building is it creates more electricity than it uses. It's contributing to the green economy here by, my house burns more than I create, but it shows where we're going in the future, being eco-friendly, and the solutions it has. It has lighting, screens that are eco-friendly, a lot of solutions that make it livable. But these things are also available in the home. I have solar panels on my roof to actually help me reduce the amount of power I'm using. That feeds information to an app I have on my phone here, and I can look from anywhere in the world and see how much power I'm generating. I can switch that power to the battery and store it, or I can put it to actually just use what I'm creating. Again, the AV solutions and technology that are put together within that and what's being created to control it and manage it is what our industry is helping to create. Retail. The whole face of retail is changing. We talked just now, Marta explained about the fact that Amazon was something that didn't exist years ago. The pandemic showed how significant Amazon has been in people remaining shopping, but it caused another problem. The high street is dying. People aren't going shopping into stores anymore. So retail has to change its face, has to change its image. Retail now has to become experiential. You don't just go to buy clothing or an item. You go there to have an experience and actually enjoy the day out and be part of it. There are other parts which are actually making that more friendly, though. If you go into, there are a couple of stores now who are experimenting on augmented reality. So you've all heard about virtual reality, where you can put on glasses and pretend to be somewhere else. Augmented reality lets you be in a situation without those glasses. So stores are working with smart mirrors. And you stand in front of that mirror, and it shows you here, but that mirror is a screen. And I say, well, I like that suit. What does it look like on me? And I don't have to go into the changing room and pull out that suit in my size. It'll scan me. It knows my size automatically, and I can look at myself in this mirror wearing that suit. And I can say, I don't like it in blue. What does it look like in gray? And with a switch, it changes. The next stage of this is that those stores no longer have a stock room. So if you're in a location like Paseo de Gracia, where the rents are very expensive and you don't want to carry everything, you go to that store. You can see maybe 1 or 2 samples to have a feel of the material for those who are more sensory about their learning. But you try it on virtually or real, and then you order it, and it's delivered to you at home from a central warehouse, which is out in the countryside. Maybe that's another place for Sabadell. So this is the way retail is changing. There are many aspects of it that will actually, you will see the stores. Look at Tesla. Tesla's showrooms are being put in A1 positions. That means they're trying to put them in the high street. But you will never see more than 3 cars in that showroom. The new showrooms from Tesla in the future, you'll be able to go and the car will only be one model. And using projectors and AI, it will create your preferential car. You'll go in and say, I want it in blue. I'd like these wheels. And you change everything which you've been doing on the internet with that vehicle, but you have a 3-dimensional model in the right size of your car. That's going to be the new showroom of the future, and it's using audiovisual technology to explain and show you that in real life using augmented reality. So come to the point, everyone says, well, all that stuff you're talking about uses electricity. All that stuff consumes power. What are we doing about that? The AV industry, and there's an organization called Save AV, and they're working with the major manufacturers throughout the world on some key essential things. One is to actually reduce the power consumption of screens and AV equipment. Secondly is to be more sustainable. There is a lot of products being thrown away and being dumped. Nothing can be done with them, and they're ending up in huge piles somewhere in the landfills. So there's a huge effort now to actually make these products recyclable, that we can actually reuse them. Those companies who are very affluent, who actually change their equipment on a regular basis, are being offered new services now, AV leasing. As you would lease a car, you then lease your conference room. And when you're finished after 3 years, so you're not buying it out front, you're paying for it as you use it, as a service. And at the end of that 3 years, when you decide, actually, I don't like that anymore, I know there are some new updates, I'd like the updates. They put in the new equipment, and what they've taken out will go to somebody else who perhaps doesn't have the budget that you had when you initially made this installation, but you have equipment which is it's still working, and it will be installed into another environment, reused many aspects of it. So these are some of the aspects we're looking at now to actually make the industry more sustainable. There was a significant announcement yesterday. It's not directly AV, but it's related, and that is about the use of power cables for mobile phones. As you all know, whichever phone you have a different power cable. I arrived here yesterday, and I suddenly realized I hadn't brought the cable for my iPhone, but I had the one for my iPad. The EU is trying to force all the manufacturers now to just use a USB-C cable. So it doesn't matter what phone you have, and if you buy a new one tomorrow, you can still use that old cable. And they're trying to force those companies to actually say, you don't have to sell that phone with a cable anymore. And if someone has a cable he wants to reuse, we can save money. So many aspects about what we're doing. So where does that all come from? Well, I tried to explain to you about I.S.E. I want to give you some impressions. Let's say a picture tells 1,000 words. Impressions of what I.S.E. is all about, because this is where you can see a lot of this. I hope it gives you a bit of an idea. But where can you see what I've just been talking about? At I.S.E, we have majority of the Fira Gran Via in Barcelona, the halls, Unified Communications and Education Technology, you will find in Hall 2. Residential and Smart Building in Hall 2. Multiple technology, that means the companies who are actually doing everything. And we're talking about companies like Samsung, LG, Sony, etc. We have aspects of commercial audio for live events, lighting and staging for live events, digital signage, which is what you'll see in retail, and content distribution. If those are areas you're interested in, come to I.S.E and you'll be able to find out more about them live. Normally, we charge 150 euros for people to come in, and that's it's to try and qualify our audience. We don't want just anybody. We want to bring qualified, interested people. What I'd like to offer to you, if you're coming to I.S.E, if you wish to come, please write this code down. It's easy, I.S.E 2023 Mike. When you go to the registration at iseurope.org, use that code, and you'll get free entry, courtesy of Mike Blackman. And I would like to welcome you all to come.